Yeah, what's going on, guys? So here's that video that I was trying to tell you about the jigs that I just got from Gann's Performance Tackle. That for those of you guys that have been watching my channel for the last few years, you know that I've been using Gann's Performance Tackle, Gann's as I call them. I've been using their spinner baits, buzz baits, jigs, and I've been very, very satisfied with them. I've had no reason to waver from my decision from going with this company, and I'd like to show you guys some of the jigs that I got, and just kind of go over some of the features that the jigs have. Essentially, there's three styles of jigs. There are three styles of jigs that he makes. He makes a flippin' style jig, which is this one. It's called the 6.0, and then he makes, which actually is my favorite jig. It's called the Hummer jig, and it's a variation of an Arky style jig and a banana jig. And so there's that one. I'll go into these a little bit more specifically here in a moment. And then he makes what's called the Draggin jig, and that is just a stone cold football head jig. And a fantastic one at that. Go over some of the features that these jigs have, and then go over some of the colors. Well, I'll go over the colors. Let's see. This one, I believe, is called. Let's see, where is it? Right there. That one's called Black and Blue Chrome. This one's called Delta Craw, and this one's called Ugly. All beautiful colors, all effective in their own right. Now, as far as the Draggin jig is concerned, like I said, it's a football head jig, but it's a little bit different than some of the football head jigs that you've seen. In fact, if you look at it, you would think that it's a football head that's been smashed down a little bit. It's got a flat spot on it. It sits very well. The hook kind of stands up slightly. It has a, I think this is a 3/0 on. This is the half ounce variety. It comes in quarter, 3/8, half, 3/4, and 1 ounce. And it's got a 3/0. I think it's a light wire Gamakatsu round bend, straight eye, 90-degree hook. And the hook on it is not as big as some of the people might like. The reason why he went with this small hook, and the reason why most people go with small hooks on football head jigs, is because normally you're fishing these football head jigs. Thus the reason why I have the half-ounce variety and even the 3/4 ounce variety is because you're fishing them in deep water. And he wanted to have a needle sharp hook, something that's going to penetrate the bass's mouth easier from those greater depths. And if you have like the big heavy wire hooks, it's going to be that much harder to get that hook driven in past the barb when you're fishing at like 60 feet of water or something like that. So there's that hook, or I should say that jig. Then we'll move over to the 6.0, which is their flippin' jig. This one doesn't stand up as well because the idea behind this jig is that you're going to pitch it out there, let it fall, twitch it for a few seconds, and then bring it back. Comes in the same sizes as the Draggin jig does, but you're going to use them in a little different fashion. Obviously, you're going to see that it has that big, huge gaff hook on it. They call this jig the 6.0. It's because it's got that 6/0 hook on it. You look at it versus that Draggin jig, you get the idea about how big that hook is. I mean, it is a monster, you guys. For those of you guys that want that big beefy hook on there, that's the guy right there. You can see the head on it. I think this is the half-ounce version of this lure. The head on it is more conducive to coming through heavier cover, as you would expect from a flippin' style jig. By the way, he leaves all the skirts fairly long because of the fact that he wants to be able to have the person that's using them cut them to whatever the desired length is. And all of the baits are 100% hand tied. I mean, legitimately hand tied, as you can see. So no wires or anything like that. I mean, this is a legit hook. It's Very, very nice looking jig there. I actually don't like using it personally for flipping. Not that it's not a good flipping jig, but I like I like to use the flipping jig or the 6.0 in the quarter ounce variety, because I like to cast it out there with a big meaty jig trail on the back. In fact, I'll show you one right here that I was using just the other day. This is in, I think, brown, what is this? This is brown Junebug, I believe it is. And I put that big, huge jig trailer on the back of it, and then with that quarter ounce head, that thing's just gonna fall super, super slow. And just got great action on the way down. And you can see with that big gaff hook on there, I call it a gaff hook, but you see with that big hook that's on there, it just houses that jig trailer rather nicely. So so that's kind of the way I use it. My favorite jig, which is, I'll tell you exactly why it's my favorite jig, is because of the fact that you could use it anywhere. And this is the Hummer jig. The Hummer jig is exactly as the name would suggest, is like the sport utility vehicles of jigs. You can use this in any situation. Like I said, it's got the best of both worlds with that Arky style jig head, but it's got a flat bottom on it. I don't know if you can see it because there's a black head on here. You might be able to see it better on something like the brown craw. Here it is in the brown craw. It's got a little flat spot on it, so it likes to stand up just like that, just like the Draggin jig here does. And you can see that this one, by the way, this one has this hook here is a flat eye as opposed to a straight eye, round bend, 6/0 Gamakatsu heavy wire hook instead of the light wire hook. Now moving on to this one is the same exact hook as that 6.0, except it's in a 3/0 variety. So it's Gamakatsu round bend, flat eye, 60-degree hook, heavy wire. So a very beefy hook, shorter shank. So you're going to use things like, here's the way I like to use it. I like to put it on, I actually like to cut them down a little bit more than this, but I like to put like that smaller jig trailer on there. This is the Wacom Tater Bug versus the Big Tater. You can get the idea of the size disparity there. So, but I like showing this color because this Delta Craw color is just so good, and it's a very good example of the skill and the tying that they do at Gann's Performance Tackle. I mean, it's just amazing, some of the colors that they come up with. Like I said, if you guys have never tried their spinner baits, I implore you to try one of their spinner baits. I would venture to guess that anybody that tries one of their spinner baits will at the very least have nothing negative to say about their spinner baits, and I could say the same thing about the jigs. They're very, very high quality. A lot of the guys, a lot of the pros and stuff over here on the West Coast love using these things because they are a 100% legitimate product. They're made by a fisherman that has 30, 40 years experience in fishing. They're a guy that actually grew up on a fish hatchery. So this is actually a legitimate product here, and it definitely bleeds through in the work that he puts out, because they're very, very beautiful works. So anyway, there's that Hummer jig, and that's probably what I use the most, is that Hummer jig, because you could use it in just about any situation. I mean, I suppose you could drag it on the bottom, and it does like to stand up, kind of like the Draggin jig does. But you could still flip it into stuff because it's still got that pointy head, kind of like the 6.0 does. It's just a good all-around jig. So here's a color that I got. This is called the Dark Olive Candy is what this one's called. And Dark Olive Candy is probably my favorite color to use, right next to, I actually use Black and Blue Throat a lot. Black and Blue Throat is exactly like this Black Blue Chrome. except for it's got more pronounced blue up here on the throat of it. So, but now I'm just going to start showing you guys some of the colors that I got from him. So there's that dark olive candy color. There's that brown craw, just kind of a very generic color that you can use with any kind of jig trailer that you want, and it'll match up very, very nicely. What else did we get? I think this one is, well, let's go to the right one here. I think this one's called Green Pumpkin, but I just want to make sure. No, this one's called Dark Green. So pretty much just like that dark olive candy, but with no candy color on it. It's just kind of less dynamic in the color, not as shiny or glimmery, I guess. So there's that one. What else we got? The Sunfish color is a pretty cool color too. I actually have, let's see, whoops. I actually have that, there's a Sunfish color that he makes that's pretty cool. Looks kind of like a bluegill. If I can find it here, I'll show it to you. Here it is. This is a pretty cool color because you could use this kind of like as a swim jig. But when it sits on the bottom, it's going to present itself very nicely. This would be a very, very good bed fishing jig. Especially like they're in the early spring when they're in that pre-spawn mode. You throw that out there, and when you throw it up, they're going to see that little bit of that orange and that transparent blue glimmer or flash on the bottom of that jig, and then it's going to lay down nicely, and it's just going to drive them nuts. So there's that jig. Which one is this one? This one is Olive Craw, I believe. Where is that? Hunting Craw, Green Pumpkin, Olive Craw. So Olive Craw, just kind of like a lighter version, almost like a pumpkin, if you will. Got some of that green in it, that orange on the bottom. So that's what it's going to look like when it's sitting down. That 60-degree hook really shines there when it's just sitting still, because it's going to kind of promote that floating jig trailer to kind of just move up a little bit. So just a really, really good jig there. A very dynamic color with those two different contrasting colors that are on there. What else do we have here? Like I was saying to you, I was showing you this this ugly color. In his opinion, this is the only color that you need. I think that as far as this would be the only color that we would need for in reference to where I was fishing out at Shasta and something like that. Shasta is a very, very rocky lake with not a lot of weeds or anything like that. And you're going to catch a lot of spotted bass and smallmouth and stuff out there. You can catch largemouth too, but this is a fantastic jig for those purposes. And like I said, they come in different size heads. In fact, I'll show you a different head just for the sake of showing you. There's the 3/8 ounce variety there, and then they come in, no, that's a 1/4 ounce. There's the 3/4 ounce variety there. So, but you get the idea of how they're going to stand. You get the idea of how they're going to stand there with that flat head, that flat head design. It's just very, very good for dragging across rocks, and it's going to still orient itself in the correct direction for when you're throwing it out there. And again, with that needle sharp hook that's on there, like I said, not a thick wire hook or a heavy wire hook, if you will, but again, it's not going to be anything that you're going to be able to open up or bend. There you go. That's as hard as I can pull that thing out, you guys. I'm telling you, that hook is going to be every bit as strong that you can do with a hook. So let me go ahead, just so I don't run out of time here. I want to show you guys what it would look like, because it has these. All the jigs have these bait keepers on them. A very, very aggressive bait keeper. That bait keeper will keep that jig trailer on there until that jig trailer falls apart. It's one of those things that when you put it on there, I could just about guarantee you it's not going to come off unless you tear the bait off. So I guess you can take the good in with the bad for those of you guys that like to change out your jig trailers. Sometimes I like to do that. I like to change out my jig trailers. It's probably going to destroy the jig trailer by keeping it on there. There's a couple things you can do. You could probably shave these down a little bit, or just one thing that I like to do is just cut off the jig and retie another one on there with a different jig trailer on there. It would actually be just as easy to do it that way than to tear off the jig or the jig trailer. And when you're using something that is has a very good resiliency, like a Zoom or a Wacom or a PTL baby, you're gonna be able to use these jig trailers a lot more than just once, especially because the trailer keeper is going to keep it on there. But I'll go ahead and show you. This is a Z-Hog and a very good flipping bait at that, and just kind of show you what it's going to look like on there, because you can tell that this has got a longer shank on it. And so we'll go ahead and thread this bad boy on there so you guys can get an idea of what it looks like. So we'll go ahead and push that on there. If I can get it on there the right way. So that's going to be a very good flipping style bait where you can kind of just send it down through the weeds, and it's going to hold on to that jig very nicely, or that trailer very nicely, because like I said, that trailer keeper is very aggressive. They can't pull the pants down on this, if you will, like they can with some other jigs that are out there. And like I said, you got to take the good with the bad, because that trailer keeper is so aggressive. You're not going to be able to take that off without tearing it up. I suppose you could do it carefully, but I've really grown to enjoy the stuff that Gann puts out. It's very high quality stuff. Like I said, I've used it for probably about 3 years now, and I've been very happy with it. I think it's just, like I said, one of those things that with jigs, and as you keep fishing throughout your fishing life or your career, if you will, you start to learn things that you grow to like in a jig and what you don't like in a jig. And there's just so many positive attributes to this jig that I haven't had a reason to waver from this company, because of the fact that they do just put out such a very good product. So go ahead and give you guys the website if you haven't been there before. It's gannstackle.com. I'll tell you again, it's gannstackle.com. And Tackle Warehouse actually has some of their stuff. They have their spinner baits and their buzz baits. They also have their Draggin jig. They don't have the Hummer jig or the 6.0, which is a shame, because those are fantastic jigs. Those are my two favorite ones to use. So go to Gann's Tackle, and they have a lot of options, tons of colors, hand-tied. Great product, you guys. So give them a shot. Check them out if you guys get the opportunity. If you guys like the video, please hit the like button down here in the lower left corner. I really appreciate that. And we'll talk to you soon.